So this morning I woke up, and as I was getting ready to leave the house, I started to listen to my worship music, which is one of the things that I do on a regular basis, just about every day. As a matter of fact, it really just set my mood and really just makes me at peace. It's my way of communicating with God outside of just praying. I just really love to worship and just to listen to music. So I started to listen to Yes, Jesus Love Me, which is one of the songs that I used to sing as a child. This is a song that's sung by a beautiful young girl by the name of Rima Marvain. So if you ever get a chance to check out her rendition of Yes, Jesus Love Me. As a matter of fact, she also has one of, I was about to say Amazing Grace, which is also one of my favorite songs. But this morning, this just really reminded me, like I needed to be reminded that Jesus loves me, but more importantly, I needed to connect with the little girl. I am a child at heart, and sometimes based on what we're experiencing in life, it just kind of pulls us away from, and we're just always so involved in a lot of the adult things that we just forget to take time and just to relax and to know that Jesus loves us and that we are his children. He sees us and he wants us to be as little children. So I was just truly blessed by this. And then, of course, I decided to walk this morning as well with one of my dream books, because for a while I've been really thinking about a dream that I had. And I know in my previous video that I shared about healing, I mentioned that the little girl inside of me needed to be healed. Of course, it was after I had experienced a breakup that really needed to take place, that I was just going through some things, and I was really just trying to process what had happened. And of course, I mentioned that God speaks to me in dreams. So of course, I had this dream where I was like transported back to my childhood home in Philadelphia. It was a little different though, but I just remember in the dream that I was with this lady who may have reminded me of my stepmother. I'm not even sure who she was, but there were these chores that I was supposed to do, and I just hadn't gotten it done. As a matter of fact, I think I made the house even more messy. Left my clothes and everything else that I was supposed to do, like right in the center of the house. And she came home and she's like, "Why didn't you clean up?" And I was just like, look, I couldn't do it. I was having this moment like, yo, I'm having a breakdown. Like, I just can't clean the house. And she started crying. And I think she realized that, wow, she's having a breakdown. So she decided to leave me alone and just allow me to have this moment. And I went into what appeared to be, I guess, my bedroom. And I was just in there and I was just crying, unconsolable, like just couldn't stop crying. And I realized that this little girl walked in, and a little girl probably about between 6 and maybe 8, walked in, kind of the same age as my goddaughter. And she walked in, and I was like trying to not cry because I didn't want this child to see me crying, but I couldn't help it. I was just crying so much that the little girl came in and was like, "Keisha, are you crying?" And I'm like, yeah, I just couldn't hide it. She just looked at me and she walked in, and I felt like I wanted to hug her, like I needed someone to hug me, like the lady who wanted me to clean up the house. I told her I was having a breakdown. I thought she was just, gonna give me a hug, but she didn't. So in walks this little girl, like I was saying, and she was concerned that I was crying, and I wanted to hug her, but like I said, I just didn't hug her. But she came and she sat on my lap, and she just allowed me to cry. And I was just crying with this little girl on my lap, and we sat there for a while. And then she reached into a drawer. It was like I was sitting maybe like on a vanity table, and in front of a vanity table. And she just reached into the drawer and reach for a book, and of course the dream ended, and after that experience, after that dream, I was like, Lord, how do I really make sense of this? Because I know I told you that sometimes I don't know how to interpret a lot of my dreams. I was like, Lord, how do I interpret this? And it was clear that the little girl, the child inside of me that was wounded, that was broken, needed to be healed. Like, I literally needed to look at myself, come face to face with the woman, the young girl in the mirror, and really have a conversation with her, have a talk with her, to find out, how did we get here? Who was actually in charge? Like, was it the adult, the 30-something-year-old woman that was in charge, or was it this child? And how do we pick up the pieces, and how do we even help this girl? And it's just like, wow. And I remember at that time I wrote this poem, which is kind of similar to something that I heard, I think, in the movie Anton Fisher, like, who is going to cry for the little boy? And I remember just writing and asking, like, who is going to cry for the little girl? Who's going to stand up and defend her? Why didn't anyone defend her? And as an adult, sometimes we go through things and we want people to stand up and defend us, and it doesn't always happen, but as I was reminded this morning, Jesus loves me. He loves all of us, that sometimes we don't necessarily need our earthly father, our earthly mothers, to fight for us. We have Jesus, and he does fight for us. And if we include him into all of our decisions, into everything that we do, then he will fight for us. And even in our relationships, because I do believe that at times I felt that I didn't need to include God into my romantic life. I mean, I would get in and then start praying or start asking God, if he's the one, or Lord, okay, things are not working out, I need some help. So that's what I would include God. But as I've been journeying, I truly know that God is to be consulted for everything, and right now, yes, being single, not in a relationship, I am where I am right now because I had to lean heavily on God and had to be willing to ask him, like, Lord, what do I do? How do we do this? And it's to the point where everything that I do, I ask God for direction. And it could be something as simple as, Lord, what am I going to eat today? As a matter of fact, right now I need to figure out what I'm going to eat. Lord, what should we wear today? Okay, how should I comb my hair? Just simple things. Everything, like every single detail. I've gotten to the point where I've learned from trial and error, from mistakes, and I've made several mistakes, to make sure that I include God, because he loves me, and he is our Father. He's my Father. And there's no doubt in my mind that I know that, yes, Jesus loves me. So I guess my question for today is, are we at a place, or do we find it necessary to stop and just to ask God to lead us in every single decision? Yes, I know we're intelligent and we have certain life experiences and certain skill sets that make us more suitable to make decisions, but do we really think that we need to give everything to God and just ask him for guidance in everything that we do? And how important is it to include God in everything, especially in our relationships, before we even get in, before we even start looking, Lord, help me, or Lord, should I be looking? What is it that you want from me at this season in my life? Because sometimes what he wants for us, not sometimes, most of the times, what he wants for us is not nearly what we want for ourselves. or what he would desire for us, we don't know because we don't ask. And we have not because we ask not. And more importantly, we know not because we ask not.